Hey everyone, welcome to the conversation. I appreciate you tuning in. My guest today moved from North Dakota to LA with a dream, a prayer, and a guitar. Her talent, it's undeniable, and her voice, absolutely amazing. So please welcome to the conversation a true rock star on the rise, Dani Hagan. Hey Dani, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bill. Thanks so much for having me. What an intro. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I wanted to come up with something that I thought was, suitable for you, and I meant every word of it. And I'm just so glad to have this conversation with you right now. And I'm looking forward to many more, down the road as you continue to progress and as that star continues to rise. But I thought I'd start off though by asking about something I just brought up in the intro, and that's that move, because I just have so much respect and it actually inspires me when I hear stories of people that just kind of went for it. So what inspired you to make that move, pack things up and move from North Dakota to LA and pursue a dream?
Well, I started in North Dakota and then I went to New York first.
Okay.
And I love New York City, but there was something calling me to LA. I came to visit a friend and I was like, I think, honestly, I stood at the ocean and had a conversation with the ocean or myself. And I was like, okay, we need to move here. I don't know why, but all the stars are aligning. And that tends to happen a lot in my life where the stars align and I just have to see them and walk in that direction. And so that's what I did. I packed up my whole life into two duffel bags and a guitar, and I got a one-way ticket and came to LA.
Oh, a one-way ticket. So then does that mean there wasn't like a plan B or a fallback at that point?
Nope, it was just what I was doing.
Wow. So what was that transition like for you? I mean, obviously going from North Dakota to New York to LA, like what were the early days of that transition like for you?
Well, like I said, the stars kind of aligned because when I was living in New York, the restaurant that I was working for had a restaurant I could transfer to. My sister had a friend who had a room that opened up. And then the
Okay.
most important factor is there was a manager here in Los Angeles that was willing to sign me as an actress to come out. And and then I came out here and I did pretty well as an actress, but I missed the stage because I was doing like theater in New York
Okay.
and and there wasn't really any great theater stages out here, so I was like, I need that audience reciprocation. So I grabbed my guitar, found a stage, and then never looked back from that either. So one thing just kind of led to another. Somebody gave me a big break, took a risk on me and let me have a 30-minute show at the Cat Club on Sunset Boulevard,
Oh,
and then
wow.
I started doing that pretty much every single, almost at least once a month. I was doing that for a couple of years to kind of cut my teeth.
Wow. Okay, so that's it's amazing. I love hearing about the journeys and especially kind of some of the things that you were just talking about in terms of acting and then singing. And I know that there's sort of those creative juices, but I'm always curious as to what the difference is in terms of when you're either doing something on television, film, or stage acting versus the singing. I mean, I know I sang for years until my throat told me I couldn't do it anymore. And I can't think of it's I'm working to try to get it back, but I switched to stand-up comedy because I don't have to hit any high notes. But but I mean, is there anything like that feeling of just before you take the stage to perform?
There's nothing like it. That's why I designed my whole life around it. It's I've always known since I was a little kid that I was meant to be on the stage.
Hmm.
And for a long time, when I first moved out to LA, they were I was guided to stay within, don't let people know that you have musical theater background. Don't let people know that you were a ballerina dancer. You have to convince them that you are solely a rock star. And for a long time, I would prune away these sides of myself. And I think I'm far enough along in my career where I'm like, yeah, I used to compete. I was a competitive opera singer. And that's part of the reason why I can sing rock and roll is because I have this well-rounded training as a professional singer. And it's not just, you know, just what you see in this one music video. There is a whole lifetime of training because
Wow.
this, singing opera over here is going to allow me to hit those rock notes over there, and being able to get like the performative element of theater, of musical theater, and put that into the emotional lyrics of songwriting and of the songs that I write. So it all, I'm less likely to hide my talents these days.
Well, I'm going to come back to that because it strikes a chord with a conversation I've had with a couple people in the past. And but before I do that, you just made me realize why, because I was thinking about your range. Like when I said in the very beginning about your voice, your range is amazing, and I can't help but think that that background in opera is what helps with that. Because I remember going back years and years ago, there was someone else who had some classical opera training, and she had a pretty nice career too. Her name was Pat Benatar.
Love her.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I can't help but think that that's got to be a contributing factor to how like I listen to your different. And the other thing is, every song is like a different journey, different vibe, different tempo, but the range is just incredible. Like I said right at the outset. So I'm assuming again that's that training that you're now able to just sort of transition over into the rock world.
Yeah, well, I put out a song called Doomed last year, and it's a rock opera song. And so I can't remember off the top of my head now, but I counted the octaves of the range of that song alone because it starts really low and then it goes all the way up into the rafters. And I think it was like a 3 octave range in one song. And I was like, I did that. That's kind of cool. And it's so much fun to perform that song live. Because it's one thing in the recording studio, you usually record like the softer parts in a row, and then so you kind of do this section and then that section, and then you move it, you puzzle it together. But in a live performance, you can't edit it that way, and it's so much fun to spread my wings. And really lean into the extremes of my vocal range. So that's one of my favorite songs to do live, and the audience just stands there staring. It's really amazing for both of us.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's one thing to hear something digitally or on an album or a CD or on the radio, but to see it live and to realize that yes, that person can hit those notes live. I mean, there's really nothing like it. Absolutely amazing. And now I will share this with you though, because I had earlier this year a conversation with Jamie O'Neill, who had an amazing run in the country music world. And Jamie has a wide-ranging voice, and I remember her telling me at one point, she said early on in her career when she was cranking out all these top hits, someone had mentioned to her, your songs are kind of rangy. There's a lot of high parts in there. There's going to come a day when you're doing 90-minute shows when you might want to slip in a couple of easy ones. But I think the key is, and she's done it, if you do the kinds of things it takes to take care of your voice.
Yeah.
And because one of my heroes, Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad, who I've had on the show, he's in his mid 70s and he's still hitting the high notes in locomotion. And
Wow.
he works out a lot. He stays, he's very healthy and all that kind of stuff. So I think as long as you take care of your voice, you'll continue to blow people away for decades.
And if you watch like Pat Benatar, you watch her live performance over the last few years, she'll do the harmony note instead of the main note, and
Yeah.
it sounds bluesy now, and it's like, ooh, so I cover her a lot, and so I made a point. I'm like, I actually really like the changes that she made to accommodate where she's at in her stage of
Yeah.
life. It's like actually a really good musical choice, and so when I cover her songs, sometimes I'll take those new choices that she makes and put them on
Oh,
the old
wow.
versions. So
No, that's also, and I think the other thing that's especially amazing with her is she's always had that little bit of gravel in there too. So when you can have that sort of grit and gravel and that range, that's a rare combination. And I want to come back to what we talked about when, you mentioned that there were some things you kind of hid, because in terms of one of the things that's fascinated me is when I've had artists on like yourself is there seems to be, and I don't even know what the right word is, but the way you have to play the game as a female rocker is a lot different than if you were in country or even blues. And I remember I had Rhonda Ray on last year, and she was sharing some of the things she's had to go through, as a female rocker, or Britt Lightning from Vixen. And,
I love
Vixen,
Brit.
yeah, I mean, Brit's incredible. I mean, Vixen's been around forever. And like, but how many other you got to go back to like the Runaways, as so I commend you for just being yourself, not hiding things and doing what you're doing because it's just to me, it's not fair that there's just it seems to be there's different ways you're treated based on the genre that you're trying to make your, way in.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to be a woman in the music industry in general, and then especially in rock. And you'd be surprised how many of us there are. Because Britt Lightning is a friend of mine. We're in a group called Gritty and Pink, and so it's this all female jam community. So and we put on shows together, and I almost didn't realize because for so long it was just me and a bunch of dudes in the room. It was me and men. And I was so young at the time, I didn't quite clock that there's no other women here. And then Gritty and Pink popped up, and I was like, wait, oh, there's so many of us. This is amazing. But the success levels, unfortunately, it's hard to break through in the rock
Yeah.
world or the punk world or just the music industry in general. It's a tough one.
Well, I will say this. I think that in the end, while it may take a little bit longer, there may be a couple of detours on the way. I think when you have the talent, and that's the other thing, there are artists who are amazing singers. There are artists who are incredible songwriters. And there are artists who can really put on a show. They're performers at heart. You've got all three, total package. That can't be denied.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And anyone who's either seen any of your videos, seen you live, or just listened to one of your cuts, they're going to know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to come back to your newest one in just a little bit because I want to make sure that everybody checks that out because folks, I have to admit, before we turn the camera on, I blame Dani for getting a song stuck in my head. And I want to come back to that song in just a little bit because it literally has been stuck in my head, which is the true mark of a great song.
And
Um,
as I said, that's like the best compliment that you can give me. If my song stays with you, if it's the melody, if it's the concept, if it's a lyric, if it just kind of resonates and stays inside your body, I've done my job.
Oh, absolutely. And you've done it incredibly well. So before we get to that, I just want to look back just a little bit more and talk about, when you get to LA, you talked about the great opportunity, that you had. What would you say are some of your favorite memories early on?
I remember that it was like the first LA party that I had gone to. It was up on a rooftop. Who was the famous actor? I met a celebrity that night. He was so nice. I can't grab his name right now. He passed away a few years ago, but it was a rooftop party, and there was this band that was playing live on the rooftop, and it was like a rock band. And I hadn't ever really, it was the first time for me being in that environment. And I locked in on the lead singer and the lead guitarist, and I was like, I want to be friends with you. And so we struck up a conversation, and then the party went to an after party, and then I'm sitting in a hot tub with again, me and a bunch of guys, but they're all musicians, and we grab instruments that I start singing and they start playing, and they're like, oh, we need to get you in touch with the guy. We're going to get you a show. And that night is what propelled the whole thing. And the guys in the hot tub, I'm still friends with them. However many years later, some of them are still performing. Some of them are still sharing the stage with me occasionally. So yeah, I haven't thought of that in a minute, but that was such a pivotal night for me.
Yeah, and you know what's great? The fact that you went for it. Like you said,
Yeah.
you honed in on it, you went for it, you networked, you struck up a it's amazing what can happen if you just
Mhm.
start talking with people or just ask a question.
I have a gift for flow state, and I've already mentioned like the stars kind of align, and I
Yeah.
just have to walk in that direction. So I am very flowy that way in the way that I live my life. Of like, okay, well, I was invited over here. I guess I'm supposed to go over there, um, and yeah, I'm just a flow state person, and it shows up in my creativity, but also in the choices that I make in my life. And like, don't tell my mom. My mom would get so upset at me for going to this after party
Yeah.
in the Hollywood Hills by myself and fresh off the plane in Los Angeles, and I was safe and everything was fine, and it all led to the rest of my life designing.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been very fortunate along the way in my flow state.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, was there a moment when like maybe you realized or you had a thought like, man, it's here. I'm so glad that I made that move that I made. I've kind of arrived, or I'm just so happy that I did it. Was there sort of like an aha moment for you when you knew that you had done the right thing?
I just had confirmation along the way. I've never questioned, and I've done these big jumps a lot in my life. I went from North Dakota, and as soon as I graduated high school, I was out in New York City. Like, I didn't question it, I just knew that's where I needed to be. And then I just knew I needed to come to LA. And there's been so many moments along the way that have really confirmed that I've made the right choice. And I'm also, and this has been a topic I've been marinating on recently. I'm also one of those people where I'm just happy and I want what I have, and I'm grateful for the things in my life.
Oh,
And I think that makes me a very satisfied person. And so my measurement of success, especially now as I'm, I'm not 18 anymore, my measurement of success is less about like, am I a household name or am I really satisfied in my life? And I'm like, I'm really satisfied in my life. I feel very successful. And, but yeah, there's been quite a few moments along the way and there's been frustrations. I mentioned the Cat Club, and I used to struggle with this because the Cat Club was like this really edgy bar, and at night they would have these rock bands come in, and they were metal rockers. They were big, older dudes, big beards, leather, chains, and they were like biker dudes, crazy talented musicians. And then there's little me, super like I'm a musical theater girl. and and this was at the very beginning, singer-songwriter style. I'm in a cute little dress and I've got my big acoustic guitar and I'm singing these heartfelt songs. But the promoter of the night recognized that yes, I'm a singer-songwriter, super feminine, girly, but I could captivate the audience and the other musicians that were totally at that time not my genre at all, but I would
wow.
captivate the audience. And I was the transition where they would start with the singer-songwriters and then they'd go into like the full band rock, and I was always the centerpiece that would transition because I could grab both audiences and make a smoother transition from one to the other. And
That's a
that
gift.
was that was a gift. And I struggled with that for a while because I was like, I don't, where do I fit? And
Yeah.
now with hindsight, I'm like, I fit in both. And that was an honor to have that placement.
Well, and but before I ask my next question, I do have to say something to you, Danny. And I was talking with a friend recently. I was telling them that, you were gonna be on the show. And she asked, well, what kind of music does Danny play? I said, well, I don't know that I could come up with a word to describe it other than it's diverse and it's friggin' awesome. Like like, because I think so many times people want to pigeonhole
Yeah.
into a genre or something like that. And I just think, I don't know, maybe we're moving away from that a little bit because you have a lot more, I think, artists crossing over, and especially with so few record deals these days and more people having to go the independent route, they have more say over what they're doing and they're kind of putting out what they want as opposed to what a record label is telling them to do. But I also think that when you struggle to come up with a genre or a box to put somebody in, I think that's a compliment too, because it just, and that's probably why you've got that ability to make that transition you talked about earlier.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you have to be able to give your elevator pitch. I call
Yeah.
them the suits. Like if you want the suits to understand you as an artist, you got to give them something with a box with a pretty little bow on it so they can, okay, I know how to market you. I know how to place you. But the reality is, as an artist, especially like a real artist, the well-roundedness, the growth and the evolution. And there's been so many times where like, yes, you have to check these boxes of this is the genre that I fit in, and everybody struggles with that with me because I do branch out in all these
Yeah.
different directions. And I love letting my musicians have an influence on my sound as well because it's a collaboration. So I'll play the same song with this guitarist and it goes really rock, and I'll play the same song with this guitarist and it goes really blues. And
Wow.
I love that pulls out different flavors in my performance and in my musicality. And also, I have an incredible team of people that really celebrate me as an artist, and they let me create. And from that, we get these great songs instead of trying to get me to stay in this lane. And there's times where I do have to stay in lanes, but most of the time, I really am encouraged to color outside the lines.
And I also think, Danny, as you're saying that, especially talking about how a song can be a little bit different depending on who the guitarist is and things like that, what popped into my head was you must also have the ability to kind of check your ego at the door to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to do those kinds of things and just let it flow and go that way.
I've worked to nurture my ego over the years because I am so starry-eyed and bushy-tailed and so like I can't believe I'm here right now to this day, and I'm honored to like Pat Benatar's drummer is Tony Pia. Tony Pia was my drummer for my residency last summer. It's like the caliber of people that I'm working with is just, I'm starry eyed over it. So I'm humbled. I'm like, I can't believe I get to be here. But then also, I'm like, wait, you're here for my show. I should have an ego. I need to like that's something that I work on
Yeah.
nurturing for myself is to gain a little bit of, because I have confidence, obviously, but the ego is something that I try and claim a little bit more
Well,
sometimes.
I think it's a tightrope walk,
Hmm.
obviously with the confidence and the ego versus, some people that they think highly enough of themselves for everybody else to not even have to. So there's a tightrope you have to walk.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The way that I look at it with especially with musicians, we're all just a bunch of music nerds. None of us were cool in high school. We're just wearing black leather now and and making music. We're just nerdy kids.
Yeah,
So it makes it easy to get along with everybody.
absolutely. It sure is. Now I have one last question I want to ask you before we talk about that single I mentioned earlier, and that is, I'm curious to know, what does your writing process look like?
It looks like this. I've got 12 different colored pens in front of me. I write in color. Um, I don't go anywhere without my lyric book because I'm constantly thinking and getting little seeds of inspiration. Um, so it's a 24/7
Yeah.
creative process. Sometimes songs will come to me like most of the time the best songs write themselves within 5 to 20 minutes and they just like fall out of me and I'm more of a vessel than the writer of it. Um, and again, flow state. Wherever I can tap into flow state, that's the best. But I've gotten to the point now my main instrument is my voice, and I've used guitar and piano as songwriting tools. And before I had a band and I had to play at the Cat Club or the Viper Room by myself, and I was just playing guitar, it's a distraction for me, and I'm not that good on my instruments. Now I have these amazing musicians that are like so incredible. I can just write the lyrics and the melody, and I can let my melody go all over the place because I don't have to try and match it with an instrument because it just takes the quality level down. Now I take out that obstacle. I'm just focusing on lyrics and melody. I take it to one of my guitarists, like Aaron Medina's one of my main co-writers over the last few years. And I can bring it to him, and he's like, okay, this is do 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 do, and then all of a sudden we've got a song, and it's very efficient, and I'm really grateful that I can put down the instruments now and just focus on like my role, my instrument, and then I can do all those runs and those high notes and the low notes and everything in between.
Danny, I have to tell you, I was part of the reason I was smiling as you were sharing that was, and it's been a little while, but there were many, many years where I would write original songs and had a chance to perform some of them, and in the Philadelphia area, and had a couple things that sold a few hundred copies here and there. But what I remember is every time I would write a song, and I was a drummer, but I was very limited on the guitar.
Hmm.
And early on, every song that I wrote ended up sounding like Johnny B. Good because I basically knew that A, D, E chord progression. And
Yep,
it was some were fast, some were slow, and
that's all you need.
yeah, and yeah, three chords or whatever, we're done. But
Hmm.
to your point, there were a couple times where I would wake up and I would have, and when they came out with the smartphones, I'd get up 2 o'clock in the morning with an idea, and even the melody in my head, I'd go to voice memo, and I would just put it in the voice memo. And I didn't know if that would be ultimately the key that it was going to be in or whatever. But then I stopped limiting myself to those three chords on the guitar, and
Yeah,
next thing you know, oh look at that, I can do slow songs too.
yeah. Well, and because I'm self-taught on all of my instruments. Like if you give me an instrument, I can fake my way through it and make you think that I kind of play it. I really don't. I just have a gift with with a very surface level of instrumentation. But so I will sit there and I'll play on my guitar and like I don't know where my fingers are, but oh, that sounds pretty. We're going to do this. And my band affectionately calls them, it's a Dani chord. Here's what it actually is. And it's like this crazy blues chord that I'll write. Or they'll be like, oh, it's a Dani rhythm. She changes time signatures from this to that. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's what I did. But it's all intuitive for me.
Yeah.
So Dani chords and Dani rhythms are very common in my songs.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's great that you've got great people to work with that can then
Yes.
take that and come up with what ultimately becomes the finished project. And giving you that ultimate creativity in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning is what leads to you having the diversity and quality of music that you have. So that really gives a lot of insight into now understanding why I hear what I hear when I listen to your music. So I appreciate that. And now speaking of your music, I got to get back to that latest single and the video, which is killer, by the way. Okay.
Thank
Only
you.
the Shadow Knows. I mean, what is the story behind that song? Because it is awesome. And folks, make sure you check out the video. There might even be a clip of it at the end of this episode. You've got to check it out. And I dare you to not let it get stuck in your head. So, what's the story behind it?
Truthfully, so I had my sweet little old neighbor lady, Lizzie. She was very spicy, and she had dementia. And so sometimes she didn't want to answer your question, and sometimes she didn't remember the answer. And
Oh,
so when she wanted to deflect, she would say, "Only the shadow knows," if I would ask her a question.
oh,
And she recently passed, and I wanted to honor her. And this song has been marinating in my mind. The concept has been marinating in my mind. And then it turns out the phrase "only the shadow knows" is from an old radio show called The Shadow.
oh, yes.
And so there's a voice at the end of the song. You'll hear it. I took a clip from the old radio show from the 1920s, and he goes, "The shadow knows," ha 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 ha. And that's it's
Yes.
so it's to honor her and her level of spiciness, to honor my level of spiciness of being a non like just non-conventional in a lot of ways, and also all the women in my life of like I'm going to do what I want to do and I don't owe you an explanation. And so it's really meant to be female empowerment. And then one of my favorite little, and I don't know if people pick up on this if I don't tell them about it, but there's this old nursery rhyme that my biological grandmother used to sing to me and my mom used to sing to me, is snips and snails and puppy dog tails, that's what little boys are made of. Sugar and spice and all things nice, that's what little girls are made of. So I took sugar and spice and all things nice and I flipped it, and I do this a lot in my songwriting. So you'll hear it in my songs like I'm Jolene, where I'll take
Oh,
a
yeah.
classic story and I'll flip it and tell the other side of the story in some capacity. And so the lyrics of the bridge are, I've lived a life of spice, I've been bad and nice, and my sugar tastes so sweet. And I think that's just
Yeah.
a nice flip of like little girls are made of this, women are made of that.
No, it's yeah, absolutely. I now and again, I appreciate the insight and the story behind that. And now I have one other quick question though, with regard to the video. Did you have as much fun making it as it looks like you did?
Yeah, that video was so much fun. Um, Jeremy is my video director, and his wife Rosin. We've done quite a few music videos together, so we are just like we're creative kids playing together. We just have adult toys to do it now. So we were just running around LA. I was like, I had this vision. I'm like, I want like a freeway in the background where the cars are going both directions. And so we just got in the car, we drove around, so we found one, and so like I'm literally hanging from the top of like this pedestrian path that goes over the freeway in the middle of the night. It was so much fun.
No, it is awesome. And like I said, you can tell you're having fun, you're having a blast. And again, folks, make sure you check it out. We'll give a little clip of it here at the end of the end at the end of the episode. Now, Danny, I've got a newer segment that I added that really helps give people a chance to get to know you even more. And I know that folks are obviously getting to know you through this conversation that we're having now, all of my viewers, and that's called 3, 2, 1. So the three is what are maybe three quick things that you would want people to know about you?
Hmm. That I am a lover girl. All the music I write is from matters of the heart,
Hmm.
uh, and that goes in a lot of different directions. Um, that three things to know about me. Oh gosh, I'm on the spot now. That
That's usually the reaction I get, by the way.
that connection and health and wellness is a center point of my life of like the relationships that I build, and I'm also a Pilates instructor. I love. I'm a former dancer, and so now I'm a Pilates instructor,
Okay.
and so movement of the body. I guess that would be my 3, 2, 1. If you go on my Instagram profile, I use 3 words: music, making out, and movement. And those
Ah,
are the three things, like music, obviously, that's my whole world. Making out because I'm a lover girl, and movement because I just need to move the body, and we got to move the flow in the relationships. And I guess that would be it in a nutshell.
and
One,
that
three, two,
makes, I
one.
think, yeah, that's three key ingredients for a very long and happy life.
Yes, and also I'm going to share this as well. I don't know if you're into angel numbers or synchronicities, but my numbers that speak to me and show up in my life all the time are 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3 in any capacity, like in any order. But
Oh,
that's like
wow.
that's one of those. The stars are aligning. You're in the right spot. You're right where you're supposed to be. It's that confirmation of alignment. So I love that that's the name of your segment because that resonates with my heart.
Well, I'm glad it does. And now it actually resonates with me more than it did before, knowing that there's that meaning with it to you. So I really appreciate that. And the two in the 3, 2, 1
Mm-hmm.
is what are maybe two things that your fans have to look forward to from you?
Hmm. Uh, well, the next song that's coming out, I'm working on the music video for that one, and we've talked about how much I kind of color outside of the lines, and I like to explore my range. Like I got to explore my opera singing with Doomed.
Hmm.
I got to explore my spiciness with Only the Shadow Knows, and then the next song called Blackout is a very, very vulnerable song. I didn't want to put it out, which is exactly why I have to put it out. And
Wow.
for the music video, I get to lean into some another skill set of I used to be a ballerina, so the music video is going. And don't tell anybody yet, but you can
Okay.
tell everybody.
Yeah. This is
Everybody,
between us.
your viewers are getting the sneak peek. But the music video is going to be a ballerina turned boxer, and the song is about having an addict in your life and how
Mm.
that can take something beautiful and vulnerable and turn it
Oof.
into a fighter. So it's a very, very powerful song. It's gonna hit the heart in a different way. So that's
Wow.
one thing to look forward to. And I'd say the next one is I'm gonna have a big blowout show at the Viper Room in September,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's gonna be I'm gonna have another song released around that date, and so that's gonna be a fun party to look forward to, just to kind of celebrate. There's so many moments in this digital world where like you put out the song, you put out this
Yeah.
piece of content, and you're just in a room staring at a screen by yourself, and there's something so empty about that. And so
Yeah.
I think with the digital world and with AI kind of taking over everything, those live performances, that authenticity, that like being in the room and actually feeling the energy of people,
Yeah.
um, that's something that I'm just like I need that, and I want to nurture that, and I want to provide that. So those are my two things.
Wow. No, those are two great things. And also such a great point about being in that room and feeling that vibe, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, anything because you're to your point about staring at our phones, staring at our computers, there's nothing that replaces that the vibe or the feeling of that baseline, going up through your seat and your legs, and then you end up
Yeah.
standing up. It is just
Yes.
absolutely amazing. Nothing like it. So thank you for helping to keep that alive for those of us that do like to spend time away from the screen every now and then and go out and hear great music, great comedy, great live shows, and also get to hang out with some cool people too. So that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to that though in terms of places that you might be playing. But before I wrap up, but I do have that one last question, which is the one in the 3-2-1. This is my favorite one also. And that is, if you look back over the years at all you've done so far with your musical journey, and just your journey in general, what would you say you're most proud of?
I would say my repertoire.
Hmm.
To look at, and I do a good job of keeping my songs really well organized, but the number, how prolific I am in songwriting, like I'm just, songs just fall out of me. And um, yeah, I'm just really proud of the number of songs and the quality of songs, and like how heightened the quality has become over the last probably 6 years or so. I'm really, really proud of all the things I've written. And there's little things along the way, like being on Billboard Top 100 and playing at Carnegie Hall, and those are achievements that I will always forever hang my hat on. But the songs that I've written and the artists that I've been able to collaborate with and the performances, God, I'm a lucky girl. Like it's pretty incredible when you zoom out and take a look at the things I've created. And that's
Yeah.
always been my purpose, is creativity, connection, and love, and expressing it. And having been able to do that on such an incredible scale, and I still feel like I'm at the starting line.
Oh, yes. I couldn't agree more. And I also have to commend you for something that's come through now multiple times in our conversation, either directly or indirectly. And that's the fact that you really enjoy and appreciate where you are, who you are, and what you have. And it's like that old expression, you hear so many people say to enjoy the journey.
Hmm.
But very few people, I think, actually take the time to do it because they're either focusing on the next rung in the ladder or the next goal or whatever it
Yeah.
is. But it just sounds like you're really doing both. You continue to grow, you continue to move on up and move on out, but you're enjoying and savoring and appreciating everything along the way. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And the last thing I was going to say, going back to any shows, and that's the fact that, having recently moved from suburban Philadelphia now to Southwest Florida, if you're anywhere down the road, I'm going to be checking your website, I'm going to be checking your socials anytime you're anywhere east. I'm going to make every effort I can to come out and see you and meet you in person because I'm definitely looking forward to experiencing that live.
Thank you. Well, I'm always looking for anchor points of where to take a tour. So if I've got a friend in Florida, I'll just come and book a show in your town.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm making friends as we speak, so maybe I can see what I can do to help you out with that at some point real soon. I'd love to, help in any way that I can. So, Danny, I want to just thank you again for taking the time to join me. I've really enjoyed every minute of our conversation, and I'm already looking forward to the next one.
Me as well. Thank you so much. This has been, I always learn so much about myself through these types of conversations. And I feel inspired after this conversation. So thank you so much.
Wow. Well, thank you, and thanks for making my day. I appreciate that too. And folks, we thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll see you next time.
Maybe I don't remember, maybe I don't wanna say. Can a girl just live it and not have to explain? We all know what they say about curiosity, but I know good girls never make history. There's only one safe, I trust enough, one skeleton key that stays with me. Only the shadow knows the secrets that I keep. I whisper softly right before I go to sleep. 'Cause they don't judge, they pull me close. I pour champagne and raise a toast. Oh, 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 it shows. Only the shadow knows. You can ask me questions, you can think that you know. The truth is I won't tell you, you can just let it go. If your mind wanders, it's not mine to control. I could tell you, but your head would explode. There's only one safe, I trust enough, one skeleton key the secrets that I keep. I whisper softly right before I go to sleep, 'cause they don't judge, they pull me closer, pour champagne and raise a toast. Oh, 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 it shows. Only the shadow knows. I've been bad and nice. Damn, my sugar tastes so sweet. Yeah. Sometimes I strike a match, let it rain